Hello, hello, everybody.
Hey there, Alex.
How we doing today?
Good.
Doing well.
Right, bringing up some chat and some Q&A. Got folks pouring in. Nice to see everybody. I hope it's as nice everywhere as it is in Maryland today, because it has been rainy and crappy, and we got like the remnants of that storm that beat up Florida so bad. And it rained for like 3.5 days, and it was cold. And now it's 70 degrees and sunny, and it feels like 90.
Yeah.
It feels wonderful.
Nice.
Yeah. Where's everybody else coming in from?
Indianapolis, Indiana, though it looks like I'm in a bunker right now.
It does. It sounds a little like it too. You got a little echo in there. It's nice.
Perfect. I figured I'd only bring my best echo for a live stream.
I feel like there's some rations for the end of the world stashed under a desk back there somewhere. Like
some office supplies as well, just in case.
you should have scribbled some prepper stuff up on the whiteboard behind you before you get started.
If we
Like, that would
start whiteboarding, we can do it live. We can take notes for people at home.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah.
The lifespan of an MRE calculated on a whiteboard.
I'm in. We can do it.
We'll give everybody just another minute to get in here, and then we'll kind of kick things off. Anson, I hope you survived well through all of the disaster that happened down there in Florida. Nice to have you today. That means you have at least a battery and some internet service. Doesn't necessarily mean you have power, but
if all I had was a battery and some internet service, I'd use it to join here live.
I'd spend it to hang out with us. Like, you never know what's going to happen.
Right.
But just because you're here, Alex, I mean, I think that's the main attraction. You know, John and I are bonus, but that beard,
I don't know about that.
Long either. How much longer has the beard got?
Oof, no power for 4 days. It's getting there. Like it's there's something there. My fiance thinks she can start to braid it here soon. I can't wait for IT Nation so we can cut it off. Who's coming to IT Nation? Because we're going to be cutting some beards off. You know, Jason Slagles, Matt Lees. Yeah. Those are some epic ones. Like this is just 3 months worth of I better grow a beard so I don't look silly next to those guys.
How did you convince Matt?
It wasn't me that convinced Matt. It was Carrie Richardson who went to Matt and said, how much is your beard worth to you? And he said a lot. And she said, well, if we could get $100,000 donated to charity, he says, yeah, that's enough. So
nice.
That's where it all started. And this is all Matt's fault. Well, mostly it's Carrie's fault, but that's where it all started. So,
well, Alex, I think you need to go down on a little Jamaican vacation before you come out to IT Nation Connect and come back with some beads in the beard and really have it ready.
I feel like that should be a thing, but I don't know if I can pull that off.
Well, I think you can do it. You got to dress up the beard a little bit for the
right.
The shaving. Is there
the best I think I can do is just put a beret in it or something, like, you know, trying to look cool. All right. Well, we're at 3 minutes after here. The doors kind of stopped. Everybody seems to be here. So let's go ahead and kick it off.
Well, perfect. Why don't we start off maybe with a little introductions here? I know everybody here knows Alex, but maybe Alex, if you want to tee us in, then John.
They can't even recognize me with that photo.
I know.
Alex Farling, Lifecycle Insights. I'm one of the co-founders. I was an MSP for 16.5 years, doing the exact same thing that you guys do every day. So even though I'm a vendor today, I really probably feel like I'm still an MSP at heart. And have a lot of empathy and sympathy for everything that goes on this side of the world. So I spend a lot of time just trying to make life easier for MSPs.
John, you want to go?
Sure. Jon Harden spent about 13 years in MSP before switching to the other side on the vendor world. Something similar there with you, Farling. Founder here at Saaslio. And, you know, my story isn't so altruistic. We're more focused on that SaaS side, but we love what Lifecycle Insights is doing. And we love the way that our technology is now integrating in with it, and the ethos that they have with the way they talk to their partners is super exciting. And so, you know, been passionate about talking about SaaS management for the MSPs. It's an emerging area. It's an emerging space that gets a lot of strategy around it. So I'm just excited to be here.
Yeah, no, it's awesome. It's absolutely awesome. And I want to point out my middle name is John. I'm not cool enough to have John for a first name. And there's no H, by the way, it's spelled properly. So
exactly.
Yeah. So John, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself now that we've beat Harden into the ground a little bit.
Yep. I'm Jon Fitzryk, the Director of IT Services here at Braden Business Systems. I am on the MSP side. So we're partners with both Saaslio and Lifecycle Insights are core to our VCIO and strategic consulting practices. I've over 20 years in the MSP space. And yeah, it's just been fun to work with both these guys, and we've leveraged both platforms to really make an impact into how we're delivering for our clients. So I'm here to share some of that today.
Awesome.
Well, I'm excited to be here because I think getting the lens from everybody's view, I'm going to kind of try to guide a little bit. Farling and John are the smart people here. I just talk and smile, and I don't have a big enough beard to get trimmed either. So.
I'm just the dumb sales guy. I tell that to everyone.
Yeah. Well, we have something in common, I suppose, then, don't we? Besides the John without the H.
Right.
Spelled correct.
Spelled correctly. You know, there's two kinds of Johns in this world, and all three of us on the phone get it. But I guess I'm on the other side of the table. But you know, we were backstage talking a little bit about this, and I don't want this to be like a DAC or anything boring for the folks online, but you know, if you're up for it, what I think I could do is level set the problem, why this matters, and then let you two, the smart folks, really take it from there. You know, I kind of preluded the story, spent 13 years in MSP, and had really gotten a lot of experience in understanding clients and understanding what clients cared about and what clients didn't care about, and what we thought they cared about and what actually they care about, and everything in between. And you know, one of the things that always irked me the most was that, you know, SaaS was kind of this forbidden landscape of things we never talked about to our customers. You know, it was one part of our life cycle. It was the onboard journey. We'd get a spreadsheet together. We'd say, what do you use? And then that was kind of the end of the journey until, you know, a support ticket came in, or until the age old, well, didn't you know? You're my IT person. Aren't you supposed to know what I use? Or, you know, offboard of an employee comes in. There's lots of incidents where SaaS plays, but there was never really being sophisticated about it. But I think where we're at in the market now, you know, SaaS is exploding because of COVID. You know, SaaS has always been uptick, but COVID accelerated it. Sprawl is at an all-time high. Employees are everywhere. And I think that now is a prime time for MSPs to get their teeth into managing SaaS with their customers, because it's one of those really unique things where I always say this a lot. SaaS on one side is IT, and on the other side, it's business problems. At the heart of every SaaS tool is a business problem being solved.
Well, but I think that's something that we don't talk about enough, which is, what is an MSP's real job? To solve business problems, right? And one of the business problems is security. They don't know it, but it is, right? But SaaS kind of showed up for us, and I haven't been in this business quite as long as Fitzryk, but you know, I started my MSP in 2004. I bought my MSP in 2004. They were a little break fix computer shop, and we started that iteration. And over the years, I remember, you know, a client coming to me and saying, "Hey, we bought this fancy new application, and we don't need a server for it anymore." And we kind of went, "Shoo, that's cool. I can charge the same amount of money. I don't have to maintain the app. I'm charging a per user cost, so I don't care. And I don't have to maintain the app. Sweet, I'm out. Good deal, right?" And then the world got more complicated, and breaches happened, and security became a bigger thing. And at some point, antivirus and a firewall wasn't enough. And so we got next gen antivirus, and we got next gen firewalls, and we got, you know, layers of security, and we tightened up our own ship. And we kind of forgot to tighten up the SaaS stuff that was out there. And I can remember more than once the business problem that gets created when the sales guy who gets fired, you know, you go back to look at his machine and you realize he's been dragging and dropping that database of clients out to his Dropbox every day or every week. And now he's out the door, and your customer's going to you going, "I need you to prove to me, I need you to be able to prove that he stole stuff." Well, when you guys started building this platform, I started going, we don't have to prove it anymore. We can tell them about it before it happens. And I think that's kind of the conversation we need to have today. Is, you said we need to talk to our clients about what they think is important. Sometimes we need to tell them what's important before they realize it's important. And if we can tell them the story and say, "Hey, you know, I remember this time when an ACT database got dragged and dropped to a Dropbox drive, and a guy walked out with hundreds of thousands of dollars a year worth of clients. What if we could avoid that by just reviewing what your folks are logging into? What if we could get out in front of that and be proactive to it? Would you be interested in that?" And it doesn't have to feel like Big Brother. It could be we just protect the business and we protect the thing that pays the people, that takes care of the families that are the organization.
Yeah, it used to just be, what are the applications on your server? We're going to run a software inventory report across all your workstations, and that's great. And with the proliferation of anyone with a credit card in the company can go buy something even on their own personal dime, being able to track that, and from a security and compliance standpoint, it has become kind of a nightmare for the MSP space or any provider. And the security alone and operationally, to your point, Alex, of all that information walking out the door, what is there? How do we track that? And how do they even know about it? And our whole approach is driving that conversation of, did you know? and the light bulbs that go off in the executive space of, I had no idea. I thought we were just 365 in Salesforce. And that's what they're telling us. And through a normal onboarding, we'll find out they have 365 in Salesforce and then 112 other apps that they don't even consider.
And sometimes it's not malicious. Like my example was malicious, but sometimes it's just, hey, we went to work from home and we needed more stuff.
Right. Or through the M&A process, as they're snapping up companies 2 or 3 a year, and we're all dealing with that and helping fold new organizations into existing ones. What do they have and how do we marry that together? And new sales team from new company is using their own tools, which is separate. And how do you figure out what's out there? How do you help them through the diligence process? And these are all things we have to address.
Yeah.
And I think that's the thing. Farling, you hit on it, and we're perfectly talking about where we're going to go next. But I actually think, and maybe this is just, if you know me, I'm overly positive and overly optimistic, but part of me thinks that in 99.99% of cases, shadow IT is never malicious with intent. It's always just trying to solve a business problem. But it's the lack of knowledge on what shadow IT can do to a business that creates the unintentional maliciousness. It's the perspective of maliciousness. We talked about, like, you guys, we're all dabbling all over. Over here at Saaslio, we have an acronym called COST. Not very creative because one of the letters is actually cost, but it does go to the point of the problem of SaaS. We started to dabble into it. And, at the end of the day, I always say, I don't care what tool you use or what practice you go about it. SaaS management needs to be done, whether it's manual, whether it's automated, whether it's with one vendor or the other. But I think today's goal, when we talked about it offline, was let's walk away with agnostically, what can you do to talk about SaaS, regardless of what your stack looks like today? And we have found universally across all our partners, all our clients, cost tends to be the way to win. And I'll do a high level overview, and then we'll get strategically into use cases we've seen over it. But cost really gets down to the point that, and I'm sure, Alex, you teach a lot in LCI with your folks. You can't solve every problem. If you boil the ocean with every problem, they're going to their brain's going to turn into spaghetti. They're going to have no idea what really matters. Priorities get in their head shifted around. And the cost acronym for us is find one thing that matters.
Yep.
Are you talking to the CFO who cares about costs? Are you talking about the CEO who says, I just want it to work and cares about ops? Are you talking about these, CISO or the CFO that just read a Forbes article about another bank being breached and they're like, we can't do that. We care about security. Or is the company moving so fast, down Jon's point, to mergers and acquisitions, that time is what matters?
Yeah.
And when we talk about SaaS, I think you can boil it down to anything. Talk about SaaS, it's finding out what matters, one of these 4 things, and digging in deep.
We talk a lot about, depending on who you're in the room with, which conversation are you going to have, right? When you're in the room with the CEO or the CRO, the guys whose job is to ring the cash register, then you talk about how we ring the cash register. And that's, does operations work? Can we save you time? And if you're meeting with the CFO, bring them a budget forecast. And if you're really on dialed in, you'll export it to a CSV and carry it to them in a CSV, because that's how they like to work, right? Know your audience. Yeah. And we talk about it a lot, but really what it boils down to is there's got to be something in your presentation that captures every person in the room. Knowing how to present one topic from a couple of different angles can really help you deliver and land an entire room. And it has something to do with that. You have auditory learners, you have visual learners, and all these things. It has something to do with that. Just finding what's important to somebody that makes them perk up and listen, that speaks their language, and then having a little bit of visibility, have a little bit of language that helps everybody just kind of dial in and head in the right direction. You'll be amazed how quickly everybody heads in, full force into something like tracking what software we use, when yesterday they didn't care about it.
Well, I think I would love, you have a great use case here. And we were talking offline a little bit about it, but when we talk about cost, I gave a little metrics for people to read. We're not going to get in the depths of a PowerPoint. I really want to riff on it, but there's metrics that kind of support all these things. But from the cost approach, maybe are there any use cases, stories, Alex, you saw in your MSP, or Jon, you've even seen already using both tools or in your experience where, SaaS has really created just a direct cost financial impact that and any good stories to share?
Yeah, from a cost perspective, we deployed this, and it was the client I was mentioning earlier of, we're just Salesforce and 365, and we don't use anything else, and everything's built into Salesforce. And going through and reviewing all of their SaaS through their acquisition process, they had 7 different e-signature applications. So they had 7 different cloud-based utilities where contracts were loaded into, anything they needed signed, and they're also under compliance. So all of these questions came up, and the look on leadership's face and the C-level face of, okay, what do we do to get our arms around this? And they just had no idea. And our approach through, our QBR process and CBR process is really enlightening them some education and driving the conversation. Because again, knowing your room, CFO doesn't necessarily care about operational issues. We're driving the, what does this mean to the bottom line? What does it mean to risk? What does it mean to insurance? And then the operations folks are right there, and we're driving that. What do we do? How do we address this? So touching on every person in that room and understanding that, and then having a solution and being able to deliver. We're not going over that in our QBRs, but it's the and trying to get those light bulb and aha moments in that meeting to then drive further conversation, or at least the recognition that we have to address these problems. These have to be on our roadmap. They're critical to us functioning as a business. And that was just a great use case, as we ended up finding over 180 apps in use throughout the organization. And then we zeroed in immediately on the contracts, because that is so critical to their business. And then, again, we don't want to boil the ocean. We can't. So going through all those applications where really they should be about 40 with all of the use cases we've identified, but that'll take time. And that's what we're working on over the course of the next year, is to get that narrowed down and work through it, but getting the critical and identifying that. And that's where we're really bringing value through the process and through the utility, is identifying those and being able to prioritize with the right stakeholders.
And so I'm never ceased to be amazed by MSPs and how much they can make Microsoft 365 do. We just started onboarding a partner who literally part of their introduction with every customer is, let's go find all the things that you're doing currently outside of 365 that should be being done inside of 365 with licensing you already pay for. And these guys are probably the best 365 MSP I've seen, and I've seen some really good ones. So it takes a lot to move the needle that far. But they're out there working on dynamic CRM and working on a lot of the new I don't even remember the business goals piece that exists in 365 now. I forget what the name of it even is. There's so much in 365 now that most people don't even understand how much is out there. And being able to go out and say, hey, you can get rid of 12 applications, and in the process, all your data will be tighter connected. All your applications will talk to each other, and you've got 11 less, risky applications in your environment, right? 11 less set or 12 less sets of credentials to manage, and everything just gets more secure by default because we have one application to track and to manage and to monitor, and we actually have tools for that one, as opposed to picking these weird one-offs that we don't have tools for.
And even outside of the security piece, there is just the operational efficiencies that if the MSP or whoever the partner is can really help them to automate business process. And again, finding better ways to bring value to the clients out there is, great. You have this 12-step process with 12 applications that you're using. Let's get it into 365, and we can take that 12, turn it into a 3-step process. And these are things we've done where they can, instead of having 2 people full-time focused on manually pushing things through or pushing 12 different buttons, it's now a half-time job, and they can focus on things that bring more value to their organization. We've automated it. So lots to be found there that we're able to uncover.
Well, and imagine as the MSP too, being able to have a subject matter expert in Office 365 who can talk to all of your clients versus having to have one in Salesforce and Airtable and Monday.com and all of those products. Because when your customer calls, they still expect you to understand how to operate that third-party app that you've never seen before.
Oh, they do.
I think you got to hit on something. It's like a magic bullet right there when it comes to consolidation. that really stretches the entire cost acronym there. And you brought up a good one, a good use case. We have a partner named Peter. I'll keep their MSP out, but Peter was talking with me the other day where they had done a survey. You brought up Airtable, but brought me into a different use case around the cost problem where they had done a survey and found, a couple employees putting rogue HIPAA data inside of Airtable. And, they didn't know Airtable was being used. They brought up the QBR, said, what's Airtable? And of course, the CEO's reaction, we don't use Airtable. Well, there's a little Airtable there. And what we found out was that, this goes back to my point earlier. The employees thought they were doing something good. They had found a way to automate something with the data that they had in their business. They took a 10-hour process down to a 1-hour process. Like, wow. I mean, they've done something great. And then it finds out that they've got, PII data in Airtable. And, what that ends up costing is northbound to $80,000 a year now for this annual subscription for the enterprise version to have that PII data. And it's like, wow, what if we could have gotten in front of that, Airtable adoption, figured out their business problem as an MSP, created a new project to create new revenue, create a stickier customer because we solved the deep problem, reduce sprawl, and give them back time. I mean, it's kind of the trifecta when you get into a case like that.
And whatever they're doing in Airtable probably could have been done in 365 somewhere, right? There's tools for everything, between Power Automate and everything else that's out there, Planner and all the other tools. So, it always gets interesting when you start talking about that. But I think you've pointed out successfully the reason why nobody ever wants to do their own HIPAA compliance.
Yeah,
because it costs $80,000.
Yeah, exactly.
Hopefully, there's no doctors listening to this because
All right. Okay, I forgot to say I was going to play a game, and I don't even know if I told you to. So sorry. I had to make it interesting, so I put some movie references for each letter of the cost acronym. I want to see. I'm sorry, John. I know this is coming out of the blue, so I'm curious who knows the references. We can see in chat if anybody knows the reference here.
I don't know that one.
Don't know that one.
All right, we'll see if anybody in chat gets it. We'll give it a few seconds.
I think Christopher's right.
Yeah,
I think it is. Yeah, now that he said it.
Wolf of Wall Street.
Yeah.
Just throwing money out the window, just tossing the subscription revenue out. I forgot. Yeah, I made it a little fun. I was having fun putting this camera together.
I will say, talking about throwing money out the window, I remember at my MSP when I found a subscription that I had told somebody to cancel and they didn't cancel it. And I found it 18 months later.
Yeah.
When I was reviewing the P&L in detail. And I literally felt like I had been throwing money out the window. And if I had had an application that could go look at it for me, of course, this was 15 years ago, but if I had had an application that could have just told me, hey, people are still logging into this thing, or it's still out there, we would have dealt with it a whole different way.
Well, as MSPs, we're so focused on 365 licensing, and that's where we audit that. And everyone knows, like, I got one extra one. Why are we paying for this? But haven't been looking, and no one's really talking about the other 200 apps or 100 or 50 seats of Zoom that you've migrated over to Teams for, and you're still paying for Zoom.
I was trying to reconcile Sophos licensing,
Yeah. Absolutely.
Well, and I know we've hit this cost and the whole thing of cost, the whole cost acronym really gets blurry. Obviously trying to get us lasered in on one that we can, but we've really hit this a lot. It's that the ops side. The abundant waste and duplicative. I mean, Alex, you pretty much nailed this one down, and obviously it plays in the cost. But the benefit of knowing before it becomes a problem is so critical as an MSP. Nothing's worse than that message coming into support saying, hey, this thing that we set up broke, and everybody in Teams is kind of hitting each other up going, okay, we didn't even know you had this thing, but let's see what we can do here.
Right.
But what we found in our that 90% of customers have overlap and duplicity. File sharing tools, productivity, and communication categories are always rampant. And most execs don't even feel confident that they know what their employees are using.
It's funny though, because we talk about this a lot to our MSP partners. And what we talk to them about is you support small and medium business, right? These guys they're not enterprise. Nothing gets lost in the profit and loss statement. Nothing gets lost in the chart of accounts in companies the size of what 85% of our MSPs work with. Now, each of you may have a behemoth or two that is big enough that they have different problems, but you can go sit down with just the finance person at your customer and sit down and help them build a technology budget that includes more than just the servers and workstations you're going to replace. right? Have them crack open their QuickBooks or their Sage Accounting or whatever they use, and just scroll through and look for recurring charges. Right. And get all of those on the technology budget if they have anything to do with technology. And we have an infographic we give out, and we'll send it out with the recording to this webinar. And it's basically, here's all the things you should be looking for that should be on your client's budget, because they're not going to think to put it there. But if you put it there, you can lead with the conversation. So do they have Adobe licenses? Do they have those weird line of business applications like Salesforce and HubSpot? And we talk about a dozen reasons why you need to know they're there, including not walking in and trying to sell your client on a big project the same month that they have to do their annual $50,000 Salesforce renewal to get 10% off, right? Yeah. You're going to get told no, and you're not even going to know why. So we talk about a lot of reasons, and I love a bunch of them. I mean, it's, hey, that old door access control system in the corner that nobody's updating. Like, we know it's there, we can scan it and see it on the network, but Mr. Customer, where's the maintenance agreement for this?
Yeah.
Right. And they go, maintenance agreement? No, we don't have a maintenance agreement for that. It's 14 years old. We don't do anything with it. Okay, but it's on your network and it's plugged into the payroll system, right? It's on the same network as the payroll system. So, just had to talk about the old door access control. There you go. Camera servers. You get very quickly into thermostats and HVAC, and some of the bigger schools in our K-12 clients. Those were huge, and it was $20,000-$30,000 for them to upgrade the software just to run the thermostat. It's insane what Honeywell charges for some of those. So all of those things, if you start to build that top-down budget, it not only helps you with this approach to go find the things that exist out there in the world, but maybe this is the starting point. Maybe running a tool like Saaslio is the thing that says, hey, Mr. Customer, there's things you didn't even know you had. Does it make sense to sit down and go over my list and make sure we check off all the other things that maybe we haven't thought about? And it really opens up and changes the conversation when you're having with your customer. We've been looking for a decade, longer than that, to try and be this strategic advisor, right? To get ourselves into that unicorn status of not the sales guy. And if you can sit down and talk budget with your customer and help them build one, what that an MSP does is more strategic than that.
Yeah, and excuse me. And our whole approach, I mean, at Braden, from a VCIO and a client management perspective, is just that, is driving value. No, they don't care what the blinky lights are. I don't care if it's Dell, HP, or Lenovo. I don't care if it's maybe a Microsoft they care about, but all in all, they don't really care. Just operationally, I need it to work. We need to be efficient. And how can I do better than the people down the street that we're competing against? So positioning ourselves on their side of the table, not you need new computers, all the obvious stuff, your servers are old, your license renewals, but how is your payroll process, and how can we drag efficiency out of that so it's not someone here till 3 a.m? How, what is even as simple as your vacation approval process, and what software are you using, and walking through that and really start to get those light bulbs, and they understand that we're there helping them. And once we get over that, we're building budgets. They depend on us to show up with their budget. That, Alex, to your point, here's my CSV. Braden or your MSP can do 90% of their work. And from a stickiness standpoint, or being involved in just, we're their partner, we're not just their provider, they can't do their budget without us. They, 2 years down the road would be, how do we do this? We don't even know. You just know and take care of it. It's like a light switch. I flick it, it just works. And that's how we position ourselves and try to position on everything, and been very successful in doing that. SaaS is a piece of that for sure. And how it gives us more tools to bring to the table to, again, drive that conversation with the interested parties.
Well, and I think on the ops side, right, even without an automated scanning tool, just integrating the question, what software are you about to procure this month? What business problems are you trying to solve this month with software solutions? I mean, I used to make or I still make the joke. You probably heard it if you watched me ever do a stream. So I always just make the joke that nobody decides to wake up and today's the day for Dropbox. Like, this is it. I've been waiting for years. Now I'm doing Dropbox. It happens the same way every freaking time, whether it's I need to figure out a better time management for PTO, whether it's I'm trying to do invoicing better, the same process happens. A business problem shows up, they go to Google, they say, I have this business problem.
Yep.
100 SaaS vendors fight for your click to be at the top of the Google result. I don't care what your business problem is. Type it into Google. There will be a SaaS vendor up there with a paid advertisement up there. And you click it and you sign up for it. It makes your life easy, and you don't tell IT. But imagine if, when instead of that happening, your conversation at the end of the month was, or in your quarterly business reviews, what did you adopt last quarter? What problems did you solve with software as a service tool? Why did you use that? It's about asking those right questions. Even without automation, you can get a lot of coverage there. So, and by the way, we'll share these out along with that resource Alex Farling mentioned for about asking the right questions regardless of tool.
Yeah, turnover. I mean, you have that on this slide from an ops perspective. The turnover piece is huge. Again, yes, my one guilty client of, we got Salesforce 365 and DocuSign. So can you make sure that we eliminate them because this person is separated from the organization? And then we now have the ability to stand up and say, what about these other 32 applications? What do you want to do about those? And who else?
Just leave that data out there.
He was sharing this login to using a generic login that 3 other people were using. What do you want to do about this? And how do we address those needs? And as an MSP, if we don't, a month later, we're getting tickets of something we knew nothing about and how to access. And now documents just disappeared and Steve, the CFO, needs them, but the ex-COO was using it. And you just run into this tangled web of who's doing what. And it's really difficult to unravel that without the correct tools. So the onboarding, offboarding, and being able to manage that. And as an MSP, from an efficiency standpoint, how do you automate some of those procedures? So if we can automate that influx ticket that X person is separating from the company, we within a couple of clicks can have a list of 30 things we need to do. Applications, Chris, to your SSO, yep. How do we address those needs? Are there applications outside of that haven't been configured to do that? So what do we do there? And we now have the answers to that, or the ability to bring those questions of, did you know, driving that conversation, but from a security and offboarding standpoint, addressing it rapidly instead of waiting for the ticket a month and a half from now saying, what happened to our data because someone wiped their phone and something happened. Like, you just don't know.
Yeah.
Now we do know.
Well, and that kind of the SSO conversation takes us down another rabbit hole. But we've been arguing for years now for secure by default from some of these vendors. If you don't know where the vendor is or who they are, how do you know whether or not folks are using multi-factor authentication, whether or not they're doing the right? It's not all of them even offer SSO, right? So there's got to be a conversation around what are the policies and procedures that need to be in place to check and make sure that the corporate data is safe once it's out there in the ether. And this gives us the ability to kind of have a little bit of that conversation too.
Yep.
All right. Are you guys ready for the next one, the next movie reference?
Probably not.
I'm sorry. I thought that'd be a freebie, so I'm sorry.
I sleep through more movies than I watch.
That's the McDonald's one. I
Yeah.
The Ray Kroc story, whatever it's called.
I'm giving it to John. I'm sorry, Farling.
No, that's fair. I don't
John
know the name of it.
The Founder. Actually, really
The
good
Founder.
movie,
Yep.
by the way. I love that movie. It's a good one.
I think I've slept through it twice now.
Well, we'll get it. Now you got a third time to watch it.
Right.
Score is 0-1. I'm keeping track.
You put me on the couch and I'm
There's
just.
no prize either, by the way, folks. It's just, you got to have a little bit of fun.
I'll have to buy him a beer sometime if he beats me.
There you go. There we go.
He's my customer. I have to buy him beer anyway, so it's not really a win.
We can handle that one. But we've done a really good talk track along lots of different places. We really honed in on costs and ops, but obviously we would be remiss if we didn't talk about the S of costs. I mean, security is an enormously important piece, especially with just, employees working from home, shadow IT sprawl, the footprint, those vendors being part of data breaches, not removing things from employees when they leave. Like, the story kind of goes on and on and on. But what are you guys finding success in on those QBRs? I mean, when you're talking to your customer, what do they care about? Because we think they might care about one thing or the other, but we know the customers.
We always think we know better. But honestly, what is our business going through, and understanding that, especially at Braden, we're not just an MSP, we're a large organization. So we have some challenges there. And really what we've found is insurance and compliance. I mean, the insurance world and people having to renew cybersecurity and liability policies has been crazy this past 12 months. And the insurance world really woke up to what was going on. And so premiums have quadrupled. The requirements of all the check these 5 boxes and move on with your day are now pages and pages and pages of questions. And clients actually have to do something. And the conversation around applications, where your data is, what your network looks like, SSO and MFA, how are you managing these things? And they're being forced to, whether they like it or not. And I have a lot of stories around clients we've taken through that, where the organization can invest, one of them is $250,000 in increased premiums or $150,000 in security. to then reduce their premiums. And we were able to do that and walk through some of these things with some different SaaS applications and aggregation of that data with multi-factor on those and tracking their, mapping out their data effectively across the org so that we knew what was where, it was documented, and they could submit that to their insurance, and then we could audit it, which is what everyone needs to be able to do. So the security is critical, and those are the areas that we've seen really driving things this past 8 to 12 months for sure.
Well, this kind of connects back to a webinar I did just 2 days ago with the guys from Ruffian, and we talked about leading by example. And this is security somewhere where your MSP, if you're doing it right, you can walk into the door to your customer and say, this is what it feels like, and this is the journey we've gone through over the last 12 or 18 months. And this is what it'll feel like to your business. And it really, as much as you're afraid of security, it's really mitigatable and manageable if we do it in bite-sized pieces and don't try and swallow it all at once. I always look at the 365 secure score. And if you turned on everything to perfect the secure score on day one, nobody would be able to send an email. There would be no attachments. Everything would be spam. It would be a disaster, right? Nobody'd be able to work at the flip of a switch. But if you do them one at a time, have a little bit of communication along the way, you can really tighten that up pretty quickly, just with a couple of weeks in between each button click to turn on and tighten up some security. So it's a journey. It's a conversation we need to be having with our customers, and SaaS needs to be part of it, because right now, in most cases, that's the part where visibility just disappears, and we have to just cross our fingers, write a policy, and hope everybody follows it.
Well, and both of you hit on a really important point. One of my favorite things, corporate thievery here, I'm stealing this from Matt Lee. It's not grand, but it's very smart. And I know other people have said it, but when you're building your stack at your MSP, find a compliance story, find your 4-letter acronym you're going to tie yourself to: ISO, NIST, CBMC, whatever the compliance is you're going to wrap around.
CIS, 3 letters is easier to remember.
That's fair. CIS. I don't know why I missed that one. I guess that's I got cost. I got too many 4-letter acronyms.
My favorite. It's prescriptive. It tells you exactly what to do, and it's broken out into implementation groups. So even a dumb sales guy knows what to do first.
I know.
I'm a huge fan, and it cross maps to NIST and everything else when you're ready to outgrow it.
Yep, exactly.
So if you don't know where to start, it's an amazing place to start.
And the advice on CIS, this, ISO, whatever it might be, from Matt always is, instead of saying, what problems do I have to solve, say, what tools do I need to mark this off my list of compliance? If I'm looking for user access, well, what tool do I have for that? If I'm looking for application inventory, if I'm looking for policy and control around employee onboarding and offboarding, those are the things that we really, shameless plug, obviously, those are the things we play in, right? Software inventory, user access. But a lot of people kind of forget when they say software inventory. They're like, oh, I have a, endpoint management tool.
My RMM will tell me what's installed on all my machines. Yeah.
Have you ever offboarded somebody with an RMM? I don't think the VP of sales uses Python SDK. I just really don't think she does.
But we know it's there, right?
But we know it's there.
And honestly, that's the stuff we should worry about the least if you really sit down and think about it, because that's the stuff that's inside the corporate network, protected by 74 layers of security onion, and on a machine that we rotate admin passwords on and patch and know the state of. The stuff that's out in the cloud that we have no visibility into, no idea if it's secure or not, and are just flying by the seat of our pants, is the stuff we don't have visibility into.
We'll take care of Python SDK, but we're going to leave, the email marketing platform they signed up for. That's fine. All the client list, that's off the list. We're good. We're good.
And that's what we just made assumptions. And the enemy to an MSP is the words "I assume" or "I think," and that's what we've been teaching and going through our team is, I think, the CFO is managing that. I'm assuming that they know who has access to that, because we don't necessarily have access to their QuickBooks online. But we need to make sure we're bringing it up and talking it, bringing it to the forefront, in the offboarding, onboarding conversation, or just security and compliance as a whole. Because you're right. I mean, I can produce a 300-page software inventory from my RMM. It doesn't help you manage anything. And I think we've all thought that as MSPs for years, is how do we keep track, spreadsheets and manual updates, and it's a nightmare.
Well, to some extent, I think we're approaching it wrong, right? If you really go look at the frameworks, they don't say go worry about your third-party applications. They do, but the frameworks go after data. Where does your data live, right? We need to know who and what we support. All the frameworks boil down to who and what do we support and how can we protect it. So the who, we know, that's the people. The what, yes, it's the workstations and the servers and the switches, but it's also the data. And you've got to be able to watch that data leave the network and know where it's going so that you can take care of it where it rests.
Right.
And I think that's what it really boils down to.
Yeah.
I don't care about Microsoft Word. I care about where the real data lives.
John, I said I'm a corporate thief. I like that. The worst enemy of an MSP is, I assume. I'm gonna have to start getting royalty checks coming in the mail. I really like that one.
Forward to those.
I'm gonna borrow that.
Yeah.
All right. Are we ready for the next movie? I know we're running low on time. Let's see what we've got here. This one's even a throwback.
Is that
War
Word?
Games.
Yeah.
Tie. That was right on spot. We got war games here, so it's 1-2. I have faith in you, Farling, on the final.
I don't. I'm terrible at movies.
I know, but both of you guys are pretty
Sorry.
quick. Huh?
He's been in IT longer than me. He's going to know them all. He's got me by like 18 months.
We got one more though.
Yeah.
There's a chance for a tie here, a redemption. Where both people have to buy each other a beer.
I need to fast forward to the slide deck and see if I can cheat. Where's the link to that?
Yeah, right. I sent it to you.
They were all grayed out when you sent it to me.
I know I hid them because I didn't, I know you're smart enough. You'll reverse image search those days.
I was going to try.
Yeah, I know. I got you. Final one, time. I mean, if cost doesn't matter to your customer, and opportunity doesn't matter to your customer, and security doesn't matter to your customer, that can only mean one thing. Time has to matter at that point because they're just growing so fast. I don't know anybody that can skip the first three and be okay with it. MSP probably shouldn't let them. But time, time's really critical when it comes to growing and scaling a company. Everybody's stretched 1,000 miles in 1,000 different directions, and a lot of time people are finding SaaS tools to give themselves back time, but don't realize that they're actually creating inefficiencies in the organization. So what are your thoughts on this, guys? I'd be curious.
Yeah, I mean, both to SaaS and in general, again, what we try to focus on is how do we bring value, and definitely managing the tools and managing the spend and the costs, the actual financial costs, but really focusing on business process and what are you using, how are you using it, becomes a game changer for us once we are able to help them, make themselves better. Like, we're not just managing your technology, and our, the way we speak with our clients is if you want your computers running, the blinky lights to say green, and your Office 365 licenses, we're not the MSP for you. If it's, we're going to understand and invest into your organization, we're going to put tools out there, we're going to understand what you do and how you do it. And then our focus becomes, how do we help to make you better? Or how can we optimize some of these areas? Or you're a medical practice, but we have a lot of manufacturing clients. I can take manufacturing methodologies and processes they've created, adapt those in ways that you've never thought of because you're focused on medical. And that's what we bring to the table. And time is definitely a game changer for them in managing their onboarding, offboarding, managing their HR process flow through apps, and bringing that all together to make it easy for us to manage, makes it easy for them as well.
Yeah, it's a great point. And I think never underestimate the value of time, but also back to the point that we made really early on, know who your customer is, know who you're talking to. Your more mature customer will care about this more than your less mature customer, right? Because they understand how money is made. Mm-hmm. Your less mature customer will throw man hours at a problem to solve it instead of putting the work in to automate it, or, and that just is the thing that differentiates. And as you grow as an MSP, you're going to find you're more attracted to and enjoy the customers who want to solve this problem. And as you're a startup MSP where every dollar's green and you'll take it, you'll find you don't really care so much. But as you get dialed in, as you build your processes, as you build your automations, you'll find these are just the people you like to talk to, because you can kind of nerd out on the same things. Like, how can we automate some of the business? What can HubSpot do for you? And have some of that in common with your customer. It really builds a bond there that helps you with that client. They understand what you're about, and they can see the value of what you're doing to help them save time in the business, streamline processes, and ultimately make more money, so that they don't have to bitch when you go, hey, we were $125 a seat last year, but we're going to be $155 a seat this year because prices are going up. And they're going to go, well, you've delivered a lot of value to me and helped me save some money. I'm going to expect more of that from you this year.
Yep.
Right.
Absolutely.
Well, and I think that's what it boils down to, right? All these things really get to the point of creating that level of stickiness and that level of, I was having a conversation on board with one of our partners here locally, and they made a good point. Like the VCIO process is all about trust. And trust is built by creating value for the business. And who cares if it goes from 125 to 155 if that trust is there that you're going to deliver $30 more worth of value. And that's where something like LCI, I think, really helps you elevate it. It gives you a structured way to build trust. It gives you a structured way to talk about cost and opportunity and security and time. And it doesn't matter if it's SaaS, it doesn't matter if it's devices, it doesn't matter what it is. There's no silver bullet per client. Anybody that claims that's just wrong.
No, I think our focus is finding a way to talk about the things that matter, right? MSPs we are technical by default. And when we don't know what to talk about, we retreat back to technical. And one of the consultants we work with said it better than I ever could. He said, our platform enables MSPs to have boardroom conversations instead of server room conversations. And if you can get there, if you can get to where you don't talk about SSDs and you don't talk about gigabytes and petaflops and flux capacitors, you're having the right conversation, right? If we're talking about budgets, if we're talking about ROI, if we're talking about streamlining the business process, if we're talking about how the company makes money, then we're having the right conversations. If we're in there talking about Sally Joe in accounting needs a new PC because she doesn't have an SSD drive, we've already lost.
We've lost them.
Yep.
And we found leveraging LCI for start. That's where we began kind of our VCI process, and we built it all around LCI and a consistent approach. And I've been on this side of the table a long time, and it's everyone's got their own way. You're going to bring in VCIOs or call them technical account managers, whatever you want to call them. They're all doing the same function, but having that standard methodology with a standard package where I'm plugging people into that role to help manage our clients, then we can consistently deliver at that high level. And train to that level, and it's not so individualized to the person you have in that seat managing the client. So that's made a really big impact on our process of consistent roadmaps, reminders and alerts to ourselves about the roadmaps and budgets and projects and the integration with the rest of our stack, so that it cut down the time to prepare for a CVR by more than 3/4.
I love that you called that a CBR. Now tell me what a CBR is.
The client business review.
I don't care what it is as long as it's not a QBR, because we don't freaking do them quarterly anyway. And when John was talking about Google AdWords and who's paying to be at the top of the list, we pay to be at the top of QBR only because you guys keep Googling it. So if you'll stop Googling it, we'll stop calling it that. I'm tired of competing with Tom Brady because his QBR is better than mine.
I call him XBR now. Everything business review.
Right. I found that out on Tech Tribe a year ago and I totally stole it. Like that's my thing. The X business review, whatever you want to call it, technology business review, strategic business review, whatever, cybersecurity business review, have at it. But let's call them what they are, because if you call it quarterly and you don't show up for them quarterly, you can make a problem for yourself with your clients.
Well, and I think that's the thing. Some people can do the quarterly, some people can do the monthly, some people have hybrid approaches, but it's a matter of just getting something starting. You talked about scales of MSPs and the scales of clients they serve. It's about supporting the client and talked about what's important. So I don't bash the QBR as hard, because it's like, if somebody's doing it, well, I'm proud of them, because I know a lot of MSPs that sometimes aren't. And so I know everybody on here is, because they're LCI folks that love Alex Farling's tool and what they're up to. But here we are. Final question. Are you guys ready? Are you in? This should be pretty easy. I don't know, maybe though. We'll see.
Matrix? No, is it Matrix? It's not. I have no idea.
It's another Leonardo DiCaprio movie.
Dream within a dream.
Yeah, Inception. Way to go, Nate.
Yeah, see.
Alex,
I got nothing. I'll get the bar tab.
Yeah, I think he beat you 3-1. So
I tell you what, if you're in this room, if you hear this, you see this, and you're at IT Nation, I got your bar tab too. So come drink with us. We'll make it a good IT Nation, and we'll do that.
Just mention Inception. He beat you 2-1, by the way. Just not to rub in dirt, but I think that means you owe him 2 beers. So
that's fine. I'm good with that.
Free month.
Yeah.
I'm just the dumb sales guy. That has to go to something smarter than me. Yeah. They don't let me touch those buttons.
Well, Alex, speaking of dumb sales guy things, should we do our dumb sales guy thing here and tell people what they want to figure out
Yeah,
how
let's
to
do
get
it.
started.
Let's
what
do
to
it.
do.
So
Go ahead.
in case you hadn't figured it out, we didn't really talk about it a whole lot earlier, but we are the business review platform. I mean, our entire goal is to allow you to do account management, client success, and even VCIO, if you know what that is, if you're doing it right. We can help you do that as well. We try and automate what can be automated, only to allow you to delegate the things that can't, and save the most expensive human in the room for the things that absolutely need their eyes. And I think that's one of the ways that we kind of follow through that cost metric, where we're not a terribly expensive platform. We save you time, we give you operational efficiencies, and we help you dial in your security. So we kind of touch every little piece of that in some way, shape, or form. If you want to know more, come hang out with us. Come find me on LinkedIn. We'll chat about it. But lifecycleinsights.io/pricing. All of our pricing is public, and you can sign up for a free trial there. And then there's John, who's got a cool /wait list up here, because I'm sorry that when you integrated with us, you got too busy and you can't take on all these new customers.
No, you didn't need. You just took my thunder. We've got
everybody can see it, dude. It's right there.
Well, I know, but there's a reason. So we've got a big wait list coming. We've had a lot of people joining. If you mention LCI, you get to the top. So it makes it easy. We're getting you in within a few days. But we like sitting down and having a conversation with you to help understand your business problems, who we are. Saaslio is an all-in-one SaaS management security discovery tool. If you find yourself asking the questions, what are my customers using? If you find yourself getting tickets saying, I need to offboard this person, don't know how to answer. If you find yourself curious about what data your customers are putting out in the cloud, and you're trying to support your customers better in the areas that they're spending their time, which is these SaaS tools. If any of those things sound cool, important, curious, give us a holler, saaslio.com/waitlist. Put LCI in there, you get straight to the top. We'll chat soon and talk on it. We integrate all that cost metric directly into LCI for talk track discussions in the form of service credentials, shared credentials, vendor breaches, security logs, user events. Everything is there to bring into your QBR, procedurally generated. It's a great integration. We loved working with the LCI guys. It was a really fun team to integrate with. And so, appreciate everybody taking the time. I mean, the man of the hour here, John, we'll let you start off the closing notes. Maybe we do one takeaway, one recommendation, if nothing else. You walk away with one thing.
Well, yeah, I'm having trouble working the Zoom here, but I think the big thing is being on, you're both on the vendor side, and as an MSP, both these platforms solve a lot of problem for us operationally and being able to deliver consistently, and bring up questions we didn't know we should be asking, and then, or we had an inkling but didn't have a right framework and it was inconsistent with how we ask those questions or how we build budgets and all of those things. So it has changed our delivery and how we manage that. The integration of these two tools, and John can attest to this, I've been kicking him since day one of, can you get this integration done? Because bringing that with just data that helps drive the conversation, it's not an integration with, here's a 9-page report with a bunch of data to bring to your CBR or your business meeting with a client. It's data that drives a conversation that's going to lead to project work, changes in their behavior, or the ability to bring more value to them in varying other ways. So if you want a real world use case and how this is working with these two products, feel free to reach out to me. If you're part of the community, I'm here to help. And the better we all are as MSPs, kind of, rising tide raises all ships. And if we're doing it right, that bodes well for all of us, and we can start rising above quickly those that are doing it wrong. So anything I can do to help, glad to do it.
Yeah, that's awesome, John. I appreciate it. It's always nice to have an MSP come out here and say nice things about us evil vendors, in the public square. So, we take quite a beating out there on the Reddit, but, look, I'm going to give you two things because I can't narrow it down to just one. The first is pick a framework. I don't care what you're doing today, pick a framework, decide that you're going to live up to it. And the next is do the next 1% every day. And your framework is too much to just go consume all at once, as is security, as is any of this, as is quarterly business reviews and a VCIO process. Building all of this takes work, it takes time. But if you don't do the 1% thing that moves the needle the most every single day, you'll never get there. So pick a framework. There's no time to start like now. If you're not all the way through it, just start at the beginning, make sure that you've covered all of your entry level basic cybersecurity stuff. And then do the one thing that moves the needle the most every single day. which, whether it's a revenue needle, whether it's a security needle, you've got to identify that, but you'll have a to-do list that's 10 miles long, and just pick one thing and see how you can move the needle over time.
Gosh, I shouldn't have gone last. You actually stole mine there, Farley, but I'll add on to it.
That was my goal for all those sabotage movie questions.
I know. That's what I get. Yeah. If there's any takeaway, watch The Founder. It's actually a really good movie. No, what I will say as a takeaway, it's just a compliment to what Farling said. The 1% rule, everybody knows that, 1% every day grows to what, 200% or 300% growth in a year.
Yeah.
I guess what I would say is empathize with that when talking to your customers when it comes to the QBR life cycle. Empathize that they don't want a 300% hop tomorrow. They want a 1% hop this month, a 1% hop. They want to grow, and they will if you take it in slow little chunks. Not every solution, you don't need every tool to solve the problems. Work with them, find the biggest gaps, close up the biggest security loops, use CIS, use NIST, so whatever it might be. But can just empathize a minute for there in the way that you're growing. And remember that at the end of the day, your clients need that level of hand-holding. You live, breathe, and sleep this stuff. For them, this is all new changes. And so if you empathize with that, I think you'll really deliver well with your clients. So I think that's it. I think we're wrapped.
Couldn't agree more. So we will be sending out a recording to anybody who wasn't here, and they won't know about it. But for those of you who are here, you'll also get a recording, and we'll send out that list as well of all of the contracts that you ought to be checking for your customer with, to make sure you've got those things included in their budget. So John, I'll get that over to you, and we can get it out to everybody.
Perfect.
All right.
The cost acronym that you can use regardless.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, John. Thanks, Alex.
Thank you, guys.
Take care, everybody.
Cheers.